Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more epic tales every day. Liking this video helps us bring you more incredible stories, so smash that like button if you're ready for more. What would you do if you were in this situation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Which part of this story surprised you the most? Share your reactions in the comments. I love reading what you think. If you could add one twist to this story, what would it be? Let's get creative in the comments. What do you think happens next in the human versus alien saga? Let's discuss your theories below. Dr. Elias Rayner groans as he regains consciousness, his body aching, head pounding. The flickering remnants of the Starlink surround him, metal twisted and scorched, with the distant sound of crackling fire. His mind scrambles to process what happened, but the sight of the twisted landscape around him tells him all he needs to know: they've crash-landed on an alien planet. He pushes himself upright, wincing as a sharp pain shoots through his side. He takes in his surroundings. The terrain is jagged, rocky, and harsh, with large, unfamiliar trees reaching toward a dark, stormy sky. The air is heavy and damp, carrying an acrid scent that stings his nose. His gaze scans the immediate area. His crewmates are nowhere in sight. Some of them may have survived, but the silence is unsettling. The only signs of life are distant growls and the occasional shuffle in the underbrush. His instincts scream danger. Elias stumbles toward the wreckage, searching for supplies. The first aid kit, some rations, a flare gun. Not much else survived. No communication devices seem to be functional. He's alone. No way to contact Earth, no way to call for help. His chest tightens, but he forces the panic down. He's a doctor. He's trained for emergencies. His mind clears as he assesses his next steps. First, secure shelter. Second, find out if there's anyone else alive. A noise catches his attention. It's faint, but he follows it, pushing through a tangle of debris. There, half buried under the wreckage, is another figure. He pauses. It's not human. The figure stirs, and Elias steps back, unsure what to expect. The alien, tall, slender, with light, shimmering skin, opens her eyes and looks up at him. Their gazes lock, and for a moment neither moves. Elias recognizes her species from intergalactic briefings, though he's never encountered one in person. She's from the Fixin, a race known for their advanced biological sciences, especially in medicine. He approaches cautiously, unsure of her intentions. She watches him with an unreadable expression, her movements slow and deliberate as she extricates herself from the wreckage. There's a subtle grace to her movements, even in the dire situation. Elias hesitates, unsure whether to offer help or keep his distance. The alien woman finally speaks, but the words are incomprehensible, a series of melodic tones and clicks. Elias shakes his head. I don't understand, he mutters. He points to himself, then to the wreckage around them, attempting to communicate through gestures. She watches, tilting her head slightly but offers no immediate response. His frustration builds. Communication was going to be a problem. Suddenly she moves closer. Elias tenses, but she doesn't seem threatening. Her gaze settles on a wound on his arm, where metal shrapnel cut deep into his flesh. Without a word, she reaches into a small pouch on her belt and retrieves a container of some kind of thick, dark paste. Elias starts to pull back, instinctively wary, but she shakes her head, the smallest sign of reassurance. She applies the paste to his wound, the salve cool against his skin. Instantly, the pain begins to subside, the cut closing rapidly. He watches in amazement, both impressed and unsettled. She finishes, then steps back, watching his reaction. Thanks, Elias mutters, though he's not sure if she understands. But even if words fail them, actions do not. She saved him, for now, and that means something. A low, guttural growl echoes from nearby. Elias freezes. Something is stalking them from the shadows, moving fast. The underbrush rustles, and the sound grows louder. Both Elias and the alien woman turn in the direction of the noise, their muscles tensing instinctively. Elias's hand goes to his flare gun, the only weapon he has. It's not much, but it'll have to do. The creature emerges, a terrifying mix of razor-sharp claws, multiple limbs, and a mouth filled with jagged teeth. It charges without hesitation, its eyes locked onto them. Elias doesn't think, he just fires. The flare arcs through the air and strikes the creature in the chest, the bright light blinding it for a moment. But it's not enough. The creature recovers quickly, growling louder, its anger now focused on him. The alien woman moves swiftly, drawing Elias's attention. She seems to study the creature, her eyes narrowing as if analyzing every movement. She gestures to Elias, a quick, deliberate motion. He doesn't understand exactly what she wants him to do, but the urgency in her expression makes him follow her lead. Together, they move in sync. Elias reloads his flare gun, aiming for the creature's face this time, while the alien woman takes a more tactical approach. She darts around the creature, using her agility to avoid its lunges, her hands skimming its body as if searching for something. Elias fires another flare, and this time the creature recoils, momentarily stunned. That's when the alien woman strikes. She presses her hand to a spot just beneath the creature's neck, and with a strange pulse of energy, the beast collapses to the ground, motionless. Elias stands there, panting, still gripping the flare gun, unable to believe they just survived that. He stares at her, bewildered. She kneels beside the fallen creature, inspecting it with a practiced eye. She gestures again, this time pointing at the injured leg Elias had failed to notice in the chaos. Blood seeps from a deep gash, and his adrenaline begins to fade, leaving him with a wave of pain. The alien woman stands and approaches, this time more slowly. Elias takes a breath, nodding to indicate that he trusts her. She crouches beside him, pulling out another vial of the dark salve. Carefully, she applies it to his leg, her hands moving with precision and care. The wound starts to knit together, and the pain fades to a dull ache. He exhales in relief. She finishes her work and sits back on her heels, studying him. Elias meets her gaze, and for the first time, they seem to understand one another. Whatever differences they had as species, those were secondary now. They were survivors, forced to rely on each other in a world that wanted them dead. "We're going to need each other," Elias says quietly, even though he knows she doesn't understand the words. But the meaning, the intent, is clear enough. For now, they are partners, and together they stand a chance. Elias inspects the remains of the Starlink, its wreckage offering little protection against the hostile planet. The nights are frigid, the days blistering, and the wildlife seems to grow more dangerous with each passing hour. He scavenges what he can, scrap metal, wiring, remnants of the ship's tech, while Zyra watches. Her calm demeanor is a steadying presence, but the planet's relentless hostility is a constant reminder of how fragile their survival is. He fashions a rudimentary shelter from the debris, lashing metal beams together with makeshift ropes and securing it with jagged pieces of hull. The ship's framework shields them from the elements, at least for the time being. Inside the shelter, Elias builds a small water filtration system using what he can salvage, ensuring they have access to drinkable water. It's not much, but it's something. Every tool, every system he rigs together feels like a small victory, a testament to human adaptability. Zyra watches, curious but distant. After a moment, she steps forward, her hands moving to her belt, where she pulls out a small, intricate device. She moves with quiet precision, gathering plants from the nearby forest and mixing them into the device. In moments, she produces a thick, viscous liquid, medicine. She presses it into his hands. Without words, she's offering help, just as she did before. Elias studies her handiwork. Her technology is beyond anything he's seen, yet the principles of biology are universal. Together, they use these medicines to stock up on healing items, something Elias hopes they won't need but knows they inevitably will. The combination of human resourcefulness and alien expertise offers a strange but necessary synergy. Each day is a fight to survive, but they're slowly building something sustainable, however fragile. The nights bring new threats. The sounds of creatures grow louder, more feral, and their proximity becomes undeniable. Every breath carries a hint of danger. The planet's flora, strange and luminous under the starlight, hides more dangers than they initially realized. While collecting plants for additional medicine, Elias brushes against a seemingly harmless vine. The reaction is immediate. His skin burns, red welts rising as venom seeps into his bloodstream. He stumbles back, eyes wide, the pain surging up his arm. Zaira rushes to his side, her sharp eyes scanning the wound, immediately recognizing the toxin. She doesn't panic. With swift hands, she begins treating the injury, applying one of her herbal mixtures directly to the site. Elias winces but allows her to work, trusting her skill. The burning sensation slowly fades, but he feels the aftereffects, a testament to the hostile nature of the flora they've been blindly navigating. Just when they think they've found a moment of peace, the growling starts again. This time, it's not just one creature. A pack of predatory beasts emerges from the shadows, their eyes glowing in the dark, their movements eerily synchronized. The planet isn't just hostile, it's hunting them. Elias pulls out the flare gun, but it's too late, the creatures are too many. They run. The jungle is dense, and the night is suffocating. Branches whip at their faces, and the snarling grows closer. Elias's mind races, desperate for a solution. Zaira is ahead, moving with an agility that seems instinctive to her species, while Elias stumbles, the jungle unfamiliar and unforgiving. His foot catches on a root, sending him sprawling to the ground. He feels sharp teeth sink into his leg. A creature has caught up to him. Zaira turns back, her eyes sharp with determination. She doesn't hesitate. With a flick of her wrist, she unleashes a sharp burst of energy from her device, temporarily stunning the creature. Elias pulls himself up, limping but alive. They move faster, finally losing the pack deep in the jungle's heart. Their breaths come in ragged gasps, their bodies aching from the constant strain. But survival comes at a cost. As they pause to catch their breath, Elias notices his leg. Blood is seeping from a puncture wound, the venom from the creature already spreading. His heart pounds in his chest, a sickening realization of just how dangerous this planet truly is. Zaira kneels beside him, examining the wound. Without hesitation, she reaches into her pouch, pulling out a vial of glowing liquid. Her hands work quickly, applying the substance to the bite, massaging it into his skin. Elias grits his teeth, the pain sharp, but he knows she's saving him. Her knowledge of the local biology, both the creatures and the flora, has been their lifeline, just as his human medical knowledge has guided their broader survival efforts. As the venom's effects begin to fade, Elias looks at Zaira with newfound appreciation. She's not just a companion in survival, she's an equal partner. Her understanding of the planet, her mastery of biology, everything about her species' approach to healing is precise, intricate, and rooted in a deep connection to nature. His training as a doctor, though advanced by human standards, feels almost crude in comparison. But what he lacks in alien knowledge, he makes up for with adaptability. He's taught her some human techniques, how to perform rudimentary field surgery with what little they have. Together, they blend their skills in ways neither could have predicted. Their bond strengthens as they face more dangers, relying on each other's strengths to navigate the planet's hazards. Elias teaches her the human way of handling trauma, quick, decisive, sometimes messy, but effective. He shows her how to sterilize tools, how to bandage wounds with precision, and she listens, absorbing everything. In return, Zaira teaches him the subtleties of her alien medicine. She explains, through gestures and drawings, how different plants on the planet interact with each other, how certain toxins can be neutralized by the right combination of herbs. Though they still don't share a common language, they communicate in ways that go beyond words. Over time, their partnership evolves from necessity to trust. Every challenge they face together cements their growing respect for each other. Elias no longer questions her motives or methods. Instead, he begins to rely on her judgment just as much as his own. Zaira, for her part, seems to soften, showing more of her personality through small gestures of kindness, offering him extra portions of the herbal salve or silently watching over him as he sleeps. There's a mutual understanding now, something deeper than mere survival. The planet remains deadly, but they're learning to adapt. They're not just surviving, they're finding ways to thrive, albeit slowly. Each day brings new challenges, but with every victory, no matter how small, they grow stronger together. Their journey is far from over, but they're no longer two strangers stranded on a hostile planet. They're becoming something more, a team forged by the fire of survival, tempered by trust, and bound by a shared will to live. Elias pushes through the thick foliage, sweat dripping down his face as the oppressive jungle heat presses against them. Zyra moves ahead, her steps light and deliberate. They've been scavenging for resources for days, but something about this part of the jungle feels different. The air here is cooler, more still, and there's a faint, almost metallic scent in the wind. As they step forward, the trees begin to thin out, revealing an unexpected sight: ancient structures, half buried in the overgrown vegetation. Elias stops, his eyes widening in disbelief. The ruins are massive, with towering stone columns and strange angular designs. They don't match the planet's wild, natural environment. The architecture looks familiar, but there's something off about it, as if it belongs to two different cultures. He moves closer, running his hand over the surface of one of the stones. Embedded in the rough stone are smooth metallic components, almost like circuitry. Zyra steps beside him, her gaze sharp. She points toward an engraving etched into the stone, a series of symbols. Her fingers trace them carefully, and for the first time, Elias sees a flicker of recognition in her eyes. There's a connection here, not just to her people but to something older. Elias scans the surrounding area, noticing more carvings, some of which look eerily familiar to Earth's ancient languages. He pulls a piece of debris aside, revealing a device, a strange hybrid of human technology and something far more organic. They continue exploring the ruins, navigating through broken doorways and collapsing hallways. The deeper they go, the more bizarre the artifacts become. A discarded control panel covered in vines emits a soft hum, while what appears to be a biological interface, grown from the walls, pulses faintly with energy. Elias studies the designs, a strange mixture of familiarity and foreignness gnawing at him. His mind reels at the implications. Somehow, these ruins blend human technology with Zyra's alien biology. As they move through the ancient chambers, the pieces start to come together. The inscriptions on the walls become more elaborate, with symbols that Zyra begins to decipher, her expressions growing more intense with every new discovery. She kneels before a stone tablet, running her fingers over the characters, her brows furrowing in concentration. She murmurs something softly in her language, then glances up at Elias. He kneels beside her, squinting at the tablet. It's not just her people's language, it's also filled with markings that resemble early human writing. The curves and lines echo symbols from Earth's oldest civilizations, ancient languages long forgotten. The realization hits him hard. This planet was once a meeting point, a place where humans and Zyra's species worked together, perhaps even lived together. It's more than a coincidence. They're standing in the remnants of a shared history that predates everything they know. Elias's breath quickens as his mind races through the possibilities. How could humans have been here? How could their technology have merged with alien biology in such a seamless way? His fingers trace the inscriptions, trying to make sense of it all. His background in human history and medicine gives him fragments of understanding, but this is beyond anything he ever imagined. Zyra, too, seemed shaken. Her species, for all their advanced knowledge, had lost this history as well. They were both piecing together fragments of their past, a past that was now their future. He feels a strange sense of kinship with her, stronger than before. This place, these ruins, they're a testament to something bigger than their current struggle to survive. They're part of a larger story, one that connects both of their species in ways neither had known. The idea sits heavy in Elias's chest. The very thing that brought them together, their need to survive, was a reflection of something much older, a collaboration between their people that had been forgotten by time. Suddenly Zyra tenses, her eyes narrowing as she tilts her head, listening. Elias doesn't hear anything at first, but then the faint sound of movement reaches him. It's not the rustling of animals. It's too deliberate, too calculated. They're being watched. Before either of them can react, figures emerge from the shadows. These creatures are unlike the beasts they've encountered before, taller, more refined, with an intelligence gleaming in their eyes. Their movements are slow and deliberate, their postures almost predatory as they circle the ruins. Elias realizes with a sinking feeling that these aren't wild animals. These are sentient predators, perhaps the very beings that have been guarding these ruins for centuries. He and Zyra exchange a quick glance, both understanding the danger they're in. There's no time for discussion, no time for a detailed plan. They need to act. Elias's heart pounds in his chest as he grips his flare gun, the only weapon he has, but he knows it won't be enough against these creatures. Zyra, her hands hovering over the pouch at her waist, seems to be thinking the same. The creatures move closer, their eyes glinting in the dim light of the ruins. Elias's mind races, trying to come up with a strategy. He looks around, noticing the remains of a biological interface embedded in the wall nearby. An idea sparks in his mind, perhaps the ruins themselves could offer a defense. He motions to Zyra, pointing toward the interface, and she seems to understand. While Elias distracts the creatures, Zyra moves quickly to the wall, her hands working deftly to reactivate the ancient technology. Elias raises his flare gun, firing a shot into the air. The bright light momentarily disorients the creatures, but they recover quickly, their movements becoming more aggressive. He backs up, keeping his eyes on them, buying Zyra time. He feels his pulse racing as the creatures close in, but just as they're about to strike, a burst of energy erupts from the wall. The ruins come to life, ancient systems flaring with power as the ground beneath the creatures shifts. The predators are thrown off balance, and Elias seizes the moment, rushing to Zyra's side as the ruins pulse with energy. The creatures, now confused and disoriented, retreat into the shadows, leaving Elias and Zyra standing amidst the glowing ruins. They've bought themselves time, but the threat still lingers. The planet holds more secrets, and the ancient connection between their species runs deeper than either of them could have anticipated. Their journey is far from over, and as they stand side by side in the flickering light of the ruins, the weight of their shared history, and the challenges ahead, settles over them like a heavy shadow. The air feels thick with tension, the low growls of the sentient predators reverberating through the ruins. Elias grips the flare gun tighter, his heart racing. Zyra stands beside him, her gaze locked on the approaching threat. They've fought together before, but this time feels different. These creatures aren't just predators, they're calculating, sentient, and relentless. They've learned the terrain, and now they close in with a strategy that feels deliberate. Elias's mind works quickly, running through everything they've gathered from the planet. The traps they'd set earlier, the plants Zyra identified as dangerous, the natural defenses they'd built, all of it might be enough to turn the tide. He looks to Zyra, and without a word, they spring into action. Elias breaks into a sprint, leading the creatures deeper into the ruins. They follow, snarling, their eyes gleaming with a predatory intelligence. Elias reaches the first trap, a hastily rigged mechanism using vines and debris from the shipwreck. As the lead predator lunges, Elias pulls the trigger, releasing a cascade of sharp rocks from above. The creature screeches, momentarily stunned, but it's not enough to stop them all. Zyra is already in position, using her biological enhancements to manipulate the local plants. The vines she wove earlier now react, snapping around the predator's limbs, slowing their movements. But the creatures are strong, too strong, and one of them breaks free, lunging at Elias. He barely manages to dodge, feeling the creature's claws graze his side. Pain flares, but he pushes through it, knowing there's no time to falter. Zyra shouts something in her language, gesturing toward a nearby structure. Elias nods, understanding the plan. They're drawing the creatures toward the last defense, a makeshift explosive they'd crafted from remnants of the ship's fuel cells and the volatile plants Zyra had found. As the creatures close in, Elias lights the fuse. The explosion rocks the ruins, sending debris flying in all directions. Dust and smoke fill the air, and the creatures are thrown back, screeching in pain. But the victory is bittersweet. Elias stumbles, blood dripping from a gash in his side. Zyra rushes to his side, her hands already moving to apply one of her healing salves. The immediate threat is over, but they've both been injured, their bodies worn down by the relentless battle for survival. In the aftermath, the ruins fall eerily silent, the air thick with the smell of smoke and charred debris. Elias breathes heavily, the pain in his side throbbing, but something catches his eye, a faint glow emanating from beneath a collapsed pillar. Zaira notices it too. Together, they clear the rubble, revealing a hidden chamber they hadn't seen before. The door is etched with symbols, a combination of the human and alien inscriptions they'd seen scattered throughout the ruins. They step inside cautiously, the glow illuminating the walls. What they find inside stops them both in their tracks. The chamber is filled with ancient records, holographic displays and carved tablets, all telling the same story. This planet had once been the site of an alliance between humans and Zaira's species. They weren't just accidental visitors. Their ancestors had come here long ago, working together to advance both their civilizations. The artifacts they'd found weren't remnants of two separate cultures. They were the product of a collaboration, a merging of human technology and alien biology that had shaped this world. Elias feels a strange sense of wonder and unease. This place had held the key to their shared history, a history that had been forgotten. Zaira stares at the records, her expression unreadable, but there's a gravity in her eyes that Elias can't ignore. This discovery isn't just about survival anymore, it's about understanding who they are and what their species once accomplished together. The connection between them wasn't just born of necessity on this hostile planet. It was part of something much older, something far more profound. As they leave the chamber, the weight of this revelation settles over them. But even with the knowledge of their shared past, they're still stranded. Injured and exhausted, they return to the surface, unsure of what to do next. Their supplies are dwindling, and the constant threats have taken their toll. For a moment, they stand in the ruins, the vastness of the jungle pressing in around them, the silence almost overwhelming. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, a low hum fills the air. Zaira's eyes widen as she looks up, scanning the sky. A ship, sleek and unfamiliar, descends through the clouds. It's not human, but it's familiar to Zaira. Her people have found them, likely drawn by the signal from the ancient technology they'd activated in the ruins. Elias watches as the rescue team touches down, their movements efficient as they assess the situation. Zaira exchanges a few words with one of them, and Elias feels a strange mix of relief and sadness. The end of their ordeal is in sight, but it's also the end of something else. The bond they'd forged in this hostile environment had been born from their fight to survive, from the way they'd leaned on each other, human and alien, to overcome the impossible. As the team prepares to take them aboard, Elias stands for a moment, looking back at the ruins. This planet, once a symbol of danger and isolation, had become something more, a bridge between two species, a testament to what they could achieve together. He turns to Zaira, offering her a small nod. She returns the gesture, and in that moment, they don't need words. The journey they've shared, the trust they've built, transcends language or culture. As they lift off, Elias feels a sense of closure. The planet may be behind them, but the lessons it taught him linger. The resilience of humanity, the capacity to adapt and overcome, is a part of who he is. But more than that, the experience has shown him the power of cooperation, the strength that comes from working with others, even those who seem so different at first glance. This was more than just survival. It was a reminder that humanity, even in the most hostile environments, can thrive when it opens itself to new possibilities, to collaboration, to something bigger than itself. As the ship ascends into the atmosphere, the final traces of the ruins disappear from view, but the bond between Elias and Zaira remains, a silent promise of what their species can accomplish together.